Derek never would have thought that a simple undercover visit to his own store would uncover so much about his employees' attitudes and hidden biases. What he had intended as a routine check quickly turned into a profound lesson in humility and transformation. The big question now loomed: could his team learn from this eye-opening experience, or had the damage already gone too far to repair? Let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this intriguing story. The soft chime of the front doorbell rang through the upscale showroom, blending harmoniously with the serene ambience of the store. As Derek Mitchell stepped inside, his casual attire, a plain gray hoodie, dark jeans, and worn sneakers, stood in stark contrast to the store's lavish surroundings. Gleaming marble floors stretched across the space, lined with mahogany shelves and glass display cases that showcased rows of high-end watches, designer handbags, and luxury shoes. Overhead, crystal chandeliers bathed the store in a golden glow, their light dancing across the polished surfaces like whispers of sophistication. But beneath all this perfection, Derek sensed an unmistakable chill in the atmosphere. His sharp gaze moved from one corner of the store to the next, noting not just the elegant displays, but also the people within. Employees clad in tailored black uniforms bustled about, their interactions carefully measured, or so they seemed. As Derek wandered through the aisles, brushing his fingers lightly against a shelf, he observed a young woman eagerly attending to a well-dressed couple who were admiring designer bags. Her smile was bright, her tone warm and inviting. It was a stark contrast to how Derek himself was treated just a few steps away. He stood quietly, waiting to be acknowledged, but his presence was met with nothing more than fleeting glances and averted eyes. Determined to test the waters further, Derek approached an employee, an impeccably dressed man in his early 30s, hoping for assistance. "Excuse me," Derek began politely. The man paused, his professional smile slipping as his eyes quickly sized Derek up. "We're busy right now," he said abruptly, his tone clipped and dismissive. Without waiting for a response, he turned on his heel and hurried off, leaving Derek standing there, stunned but composed. A faint sting of disappointment prickled at Derek's composure, but he adjusted his baseball cap and continued his quiet observation. With each step, the same pattern played out: enthusiasm and effort for some, indifference and coldness for others. Near the back of the store, Derek noticed a manager standing with an air of authority, her arms crossed and her sharp heels clicking against the floor as she barked orders at her team. Gathering his resolve, Derek approached her. "Excuse me," he said evenly. "I'd like some assistance with a purchase." The manager turned, her icy smile fading the moment she took in his appearance. "Sir, I think you might be in the wrong store," she replied curtly, her tone laced with condescension. Derek felt the weight of her words sink in. "Wrong store?" He glanced around, as if to confirm where he was standing. This was his store, the one he had built from scratch, with a vision of inclusivity and exceptional service for all customers. For a brief moment, he forced a tight smile. "No, I'm exactly where I need to be," he said calmly. The manager raised an eyebrow, her polite demeanor cracking. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of our outlet locations," she suggested, her eyes flicking toward the expensive watches in the display case. Derek's jaw tightened, but he refused to lose his composure. Pointing to a sleek platinum watch, he said, "I'd like to take a closer look at that one." The manager barely suppressed a sigh, her tone dripping with disbelief. "I don't think that's in your price range, sir," she said bluntly. Derek noticed the subtle exchange happening nearby. A young salesman nudged his coworker, whispering something that made both of them chuckle. Their laughter was faint but unmistakable, and it wasn't lost on Derek. Without reacting, he discreetly pulled out his phone and sent a quick message to his assistant. "Send the regional manager here. Now." The manager's patience was wearing thin. Folding her arms, she said sharply, "Sir, we're very busy today. Perhaps you can return when you're ready to make a purchase." Derek held her gaze, his calm exterior betraying none of the frustration simmering beneath. "I assure you," he replied firmly, "I'm more than ready." Minutes later, the store's atmosphere shifted dramatically. The regional manager, a tall, impeccably dressed woman with short, styled hair, arrived, her commanding presence immediately noticeable. Her eyes scanned the room before locking on Derek, and recognition flashed across her face. "Mr. Mitchell," she greeted, her voice filled with urgency and respect. The store manager's face drained of color as realization dawned. Confusion, followed by panic, flickered across her features. "I wasn't aware you were visiting today," the regional manager continued, extending a hand. Derek's lips curled into a faint, knowing smile. "I like to keep things spontaneous," he said, glancing at the stunned store manager. "I wanted to experience our customer service firsthand." The manager stammered, her previous arrogance crumbling into nervous apologies. "Mr. Mitchell, I didn't realize." "You didn't realize I was the owner?" Derek finished, his voice steady. "Or did you just assume I didn't belong here?" A heavy silence fell over the store. Employees who had ignored him earlier now stood frozen, their expressions a mix of guilt and fear. Even the young salesman, who had smirked moments ago, now stared at the floor, his confidence shattered. Derek looked around, his voice carrying both authority and disappointment. "This is exactly why I came here undercover. If this is how you treat someone you think doesn't meet your standards, then we have a serious problem." The stunned employees watched as Derek took charge, setting the stage for a reckoning that would reshape their understanding of respect, humility, and the importance of treating everyone with dignity. Derek turned to the regional manager, his expression a blend of calm authority and quiet determination. "Remind me," he began, his voice carrying across the store, "what's our company mission?" The regional manager straightened immediately, her tone steady and precise. "To provide an exceptional shopping experience for everyone, regardless of their background or appearance." Derek nodded slowly, letting her words hang in the air for a moment. "That's exactly what I thought," he replied. Then, turning back to the store manager, he added, "And yet, when I walked into this store today, I experienced the complete opposite. Instead of being welcomed, I was judged, dismissed, and made to feel like I didn't belong. In a store I built from nothing." The manager's face flushed a deep red, her composure cracking under the weight of his words. I truly apologize, Mr. Mitchell," she stammered. "This won't happen again." Derek folded his arms, his gaze unwavering. "Apologies are easy," he said, his voice steady but firm. "What's hard is real change. If this is how you treated me, someone with resources and a title, I can only imagine how you've treated customers who don't have those advantages." A murmur rippled through the staff, each employee shifting uncomfortably under Derek's scrutiny. He could see his words sinking in, the gravity of the moment weighing heavily on them. He didn't enjoy putting anyone on the spot, but this confrontation was necessary. It wasn't just about his experience. It was about every customer who had ever walked through those doors and left feeling unseen or unworthy. Taking a step forward, Derek addressed the entire team, his voice carrying a sense of purpose. "This store," he began, gesturing to the opulent surroundings, "is more than just a place that sells luxury products. It's a representation of the vision I had when I started this company. A vision of inclusivity, respect, and excellence. If we fail at that, we fail at everything." The regional manager, standing beside him, nodded in agreement. "We'll be implementing immediate customer service training," she said, her tone resolute. Derek's sharp eyes scanned the faces of the employees. "Good," he said simply, "because there's a lot of work to be done here." At that moment, the front door chimed softly, signaling the arrival of new customers, a middle-aged couple who stepped in and began browsing the shelves. Derek observed as one of the employees hesitated, seemingly unsure whether to approach them. With a subtle but pointed look from Derek, the staff member quickly composed themselves, stepping forward with a warm smile and a genuine greeting. A small smile tugged at Derek's lips as he watched. Maybe, he thought to himself, there's hope yet. Turning back to the store manager, his tone took on a more formal edge. "I'll expect a full report on the changes you've made within the next month," he said, letting the weight of his expectations hang in the air. If not, he left the sentence unfinished, the implication crystal clear. The manager nodded vigorously, her earlier confidence replaced by determination. "Absolutely, sir," she said. With one last look around the store, Derek made his way to the exit. Just before stepping out, he turned back, his expression calm but purposeful. "And remember," he added, "I could be back at any time." The cool air hit Derek as he stepped outside, filling his lungs with a refreshing sense of clarity. He felt a quiet satisfaction, not from catching his employees off guard, but from knowing he'd taken a necessary step toward change. At the end of the day, it wasn't about him. It was about ensuring that every customer, no matter who they were or how they looked, was treated with the respect they deserved. Little did the store staff know, however, that today's events were already making waves. As Derek walked down the street, reflecting on the confrontation, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the screen to see a message from his assistant. "Social media is blowing up." Someone recorded the entire thing. Comments are pouring in. Derek shook his head, unsurprised but resolute. Opening the link, he watched a short clip of the store manager dismissing him, followed by the moment the regional manager arrived and addressed him as the CEO. The comments were already piling up. Imagine treating the CEO of the company like that. If this happens to him, what chance do regular customers have? This is exactly why I avoid shopping at these so-called luxury stores. Derek sighed as he pocketed his phone. He wasn't interested in public humiliation or viral fame. What mattered to him was meaningful, lasting change. Back inside the store, tension hung thick in the air. Employees huddled together, whispering nervously and stealing anxious glances at the entrance, as if expecting Derek to walk back in at any moment. The regional manager stepped forward, gathering the staff in a firm but supportive tone. "This isn't just about what happened today," she said, her voice commanding attention. "We need to completely rethink how we treat every single customer who walks through that door. What happened earlier wasn't just wrong, it was unacceptable. And it could cost us more than just a sale. It could cost us our reputation." The store manager, still visibly shaken, nodded earnestly. "We should have done better," she admitted. "I should have done better." One of the younger sales associates, the same one who had smirked at Derek, hesitated before speaking up. "I guess we just make assumptions too quickly sometimes," he said quietly. The regional manager crossed her arms, her expression firm but encouraging. "Then let's change that." Across the street, Derek stood watching the scene unfold through the store's large windows. He could see the uncertainty etched across the employees' faces, but he also saw a glimmer of hope. Maybe this will be a turning point, he thought. Later that evening, Derek sat in his office drafting a memo. The words came easily, driven by his conviction. "Our mission is more than just words. Today, I experienced firsthand what it feels like to be on the other side. Let's make sure no customer ever feels the way I did today." He hit send, knowing the real work had just begun. The following morning, Derek walked into his office with a renewed sense of purpose. His inbox was flooded with emails, apologies from staff, questions from department heads, and concerns about the store's reputation. But Derek wasn't focused on damage control. He was focused on action. Calling an emergency meeting with his executive team, he began firmly. "This can never happen again," he said, his voice leaving no room for doubt. "Not just in that store, but in every store." Heads nodded in agreement, and the regional manager from the previous day joined via video call. "We've started diversity and inclusion training," she reported, "but it's clear we need to go deeper." "Let's focus on empathy," Derek said, leaning forward. "Every employee needs to understand that every customer, no matter their appearance, deserves respect." Later that day, his phone buzzed again with a message from his assistant. "Our stock prices are climbing. People are noticing the change." Derek smiled faintly. Real change wasn't just about appearances, it was about action, and today had been the first step. Have you ever been unfairly judged because of how you look? Stories like Derek's remind us that respect shouldn't be conditional. Share your experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that challenge and inspire. Let's keep this important conversation going.